Have you ever been to a museum that is focused around dinosaurs? You know, it's always been a marvel to me that you watch these videos or movies and these archaeologists or paleontologists or whatever ologists they are, they're out there with their little shovel and their little pick and their brush, and they're looking for these bones and fossils. And pretty soon, you know, they put a few together, and through their education, imagination, whatever nation it is, they have this picture of a whatever. You know, a T-Rex or a Stegosaurus, or, you know, it has to be pure imagination. So, you know, I can't really stand here and be too critical of that, because I'm kind of going to do the same thing. I've got to go through this pile here and work with the skeletons and try to figure out where they went. What's this going to look like? Well, before we get too far into this week's video, I'd like to address two different topics. One is, last week I requested any information that you all might have for 6-inch thick white oak. And I have received numerous responses to that. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Diane has made a list of all these suggestions, and we're going to go through and pursue that. I haven't done that yet because I've kind of transitioned a little bit into this mud wagon, and we've had winter show up this week, so I've been kind of in the mad rush to get our water system all figured out for wintering these calves. So anyway, that's one thing I wanted to mention. Just thank you for all your response. Something is going to show up, I know. Secondly, this week's video, I almost have to make a disclaimer before I get even into it. What a deal, huh? Well, when I'm out on my after work projects, and lately it's been on trenching and getting this water system in, I have begun to use a GoPro. I have the Hero 9 version of the GoPro. And sometimes I have a lapel mic on and sometimes I don't. And when I don't, you know, you can hear the wind. But when I use this lapel mic or lavalier mic or whatever fancy term they use, it does help cut down the wind, as I use this little fuzzy thing on the top of my mic. So what I've used is on that deal is this DJI mic system. And it works really well. It'll read out to like 100 yards. It's pretty impressive. Well, this week I decided to use it on top of my Canon that I use in the shop here. And I thought, well, you know, I'm not out in the wind, so I thought, so I don't need to put this little fuzz top ball on top of my mic. So I didn't. And you know, I did a test run, and yeah, it's going to pick up and work all right. So I went ahead and videoed what you're about to see, and then as I was putting it together and editing it, I realized that without this little fuzzball, you really hear a lot of my panting and heavy breathing. It sounds like it. I didn't think I was really panting all that hard, but this mic is so sensitive that it picks up that it's what it sounds like, even though I think I'm just breathing normally. So partway through, you know, I changed the position of this. This is the DJI mic system, and this little hoochie coo is what I put on my shirt. Well, you're going to see this little, looks like a Mars little green light that I have clipped on there. So that's my ET phone home type of deal that's on my shirt for part of this. Well, then eventually I put it inside my shirt so my breathing isn't quite so heavy. So anyway, this is all just a heads up of this part of this video on the audio maybe isn't the best, and I have to kind of apologize a little bit up front, like you're hearing all this heavy breathing. So I'll try to learn. Either I put it inside my shirt a little more, or I use this little fuzzball thing, even if I use it in the shop. But I knew I was going to be away from the camera more, so I tried it, and like I say, that's part of the learning curve. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this week's version on what I've kind of created this term, wagonology or coachology. Now, if you've watched for very long, which a lot of you have, normally I don't do a lot of yakking. But I don't know how to go through this whole process and share it with you without some yakking. So I'm going to try to take some of this stuff that's just miscellaneous odds and ends and maybe try to categorize them and get a picture of what they are. So I'm guessing this was the sideboard, as oftentimes these mud wagons had what they call raved sides. So the sideboard would go through, and this would be the exterior. So maybe I can just categorize these. I'm going to call this in dinosaur language, I think maybe this is part of the rib cage. Looking for all that same style iron. Here's one. There's a few in here. I don't know if there'd be any in here. These look like seat iron side armrests. So that's all I see of these. This one is a little different. This is pretty square topped, and for some reason this one has been drawn out with a little hole there. The bottom forge work is very similar. Hole patterns are a little different. Now these have a much larger hole, and they look like they were countersunk on this end. So it looks like these two, not only because they still have wood, but the irons match. This hole pattern, I think that one match. These two are a bit different. So it's odd that I'd only have 3, but I'm thinking not everything is here. So for any other matching sets, I have 2 here that seem to be mates to something. Not quite sure at this point what they go to. There is a wear mark here. Almost thinking there was a clip there. We have a pair of those. And we have this iron with the wood still attached. Similar, but curve on this one. Besides this tip drawn out, this is a very sharp corner here, as opposed to this one. This is a very gradual bend. Now here's one that might match that other. And here's some more, maybe some more kissing cousins here. Okay, let's put these up. I think we have some relation going on here. So these are all very sharp bends in the corners. Most likely we have 2 rights and 2 lefts. Well, I'm very quickly going to run out of room on my fancy table saw bench. These are seat arm irons. This is a little odd to have a front handle, distinctly different from these 3. This is more like a buggy seat iron. These could go to this coach. That one's the most questionable. Those are possibles. Here's one that matches one we have already. And a number of these are showing up. These appear to be braces of some sort. Yeah, they're pretty much a match. Patterns style of finish. This was tapered, this one is not. This one's pretty shallow, this is more extreme. These I think are going over the top of the sideboard. Clamp it into the main frame. I think this is a match for these two that we already have over here. That makes 3 that are sisters. Maybe it's just kind of hanging in there. I thought it was attached. I'm wondering if it doesn't go over these top irons somehow. It's another one of those brace irons. It's going to go with those. This piece of iron has been kind of intriguing me. Very interesting piece of ironwork. Then there goes something about like a sew. Here, these are some kind of a clip. Part of the puzzle. This is thorough brace material. So the thorough brace is actually the suspension on these type of coaches. This sharp curve here would have been where it fastened onto the undercarriage. There's a kind of a sling bolt clevis that would go there. And as this leather stretched over time and usage, this turnbuckle was used to take some of the slack out. So a number of thorough braces would be stitched together, increasing its strength. But this evidently was riveted all the way through, and you can see some of the splicing where these pieces were called a skive, spliced together when one piece was added into the next to continue its length. And I don't think we're gonna salvage that leather. This whole assembly is nice to have still intact. So these would be the framework. I'm guessing since they are beginning to be curved, have a slight curvature to them. This would be the framework coming up to the driver's footboard, or sometimes called the driver's boot. So it's very nice to have that still assembled into one piece. This little clip is interesting. What I find intriguing about this, if you can pick this up, there's a hint of green paint on that. Part of the puzzle. So this little U-bolt showed up. And all these little pieces, one might think, oh, it's a bunch of firewood, but they're actually a lot of information in these. You just got to pull it out. I was actually glad to find some of this. So yet to know where this is at, but this was a blind mortise. You can see the end of the mortising bit. These little circles down inside, that's where the mortising hollow chisel mortiser, very similar to what I use, if not the same. So we have a mortise tenon joint here. Just got to figure out where it goes. And we'll try to line up some of these holes, possibly in some of the ironwork. And another framework here that we can see mortise and tenon in, probably cooperates with this one here. You can see they put a dowel pin in it, the hole where there used to be one in this one. Now this piece here, a couple holes here, but you can see there was some type of an iron brace to it. Could be a cross frame to a floorboard. We'll keep these, try to glean as much as we can from them. There's got to be some information in there we can use. So the right side rocker, I think it's free. This piece right here. Oh, this is not the side step. I'll take this back. This is the toe rest of the front driver's boot. So these curved 4 pieces align with the, remember the hinge on the bottom? I'll bring that back up here. These 4 align with these. This is upside down. So he sits like about so. So this is where the heel of the boat of the driver would rest on and catch. So this is the front leading edge of the driver's boot. Well, that's kind of a treasure there to have it all intact. Well, these all go together. That's pretty cool. So I wonder if that's what these dinosaur hunters feel like. They go, wait, I found a tibia that fits a fibia. I bet I can get this out of here now. Pretty cool. So this will actually set up like so. Side frames of the body, framework to the underneath footboard, cross frames, the undercarriage, top iron for the sideboards. Probably similar. Not sure just where yet. This is part of the treasure hunt. So this is my version of paleontology, trying to figure out which bone connects to the foot bone, to the knee bone, to the back bone, to the head bone. Kind of interesting. Appreciate you following along. Thanks for watching.